Hey, thanks for watching this video of us taking off the rear wheel. This is a 2009 Kawasaki Versys. This is the 650, the baby one. So first thing we're going to do is remove the cotter key, the cotter pin, whatever you'd like to call it, from the rear axle. We're going to slide that out, and that's going to allow us to remove the axle nut. Unfortunately, I just did this bike maybe less than a month ago. The owner has about 1,200 miles on this set of tires, and he got a ginormous nail in the rear tire. So looking at where the nail location is, about an inch from the sidewall, we opted to just go ahead and replace the set of tires. Now, you probably won't replace both tires. You'll probably just do one and just get over the bike handling like crap with mixed matched tires front and rear. But the guys I ride with like their bike to handle great, so it's always a good idea to replace tires as a set, not as an individual tire. So we are taking off a set of Bridgestone S22Rs, which are absolutely amazing tires, and he wanted to try out the Dunlop Road Sport 2, which is about a $50 less expensive. It's $50 cheaper than the S22s, but we went ahead and spooned on a set of the Dunlop Road Sport 2 that you see them in the picture right there. And he's put a couple hundred miles on them already. It's been about a week, maybe a little bit more than a week, since we put these tires on, and he loves the Road Sport 2. He loved the S22s, amazing for up here in the mountains, but he says the Road Sport 2s actually handle better and turn in better than the S22s did. The S22s are a very sticky tire. So we're putting it back together now, and I'm cleaning out the bearing seals, and I'm adding a light coat of grease to the bearing seal, and then I'm going to put the spacer in there. The grease I am using is Lubrimatic marine grease. The purpose for marine grease is to keep the dirt, debris, and water out of the inside of your wheel. We're not really lubing anything because your wheel turns on a sealed bearing. The sealed bearing is just sitting on the axle. But we are using the marine grease because if it's good enough to keep your boat trailer bearings safe in salt water going in and out, up and down the boat ramp, then it's more than good enough for your motorcycle, which is never going to be ridden in the rain. You know as well as I do, you're only riding your motorcycle to Starbucks and home. You're not actually riding it because you know how to ride a motorcycle. So once we got the bearings and spacers and everything ready to go, now it's time to put the wheel on. There is a little like bar on the swing arm which the caliper slides on. So you can see it right there. It's kind of welded onto the inner part of the swing arm. And then the caliper carrier has a notch in it that it rides on. So we want to line that up, and then once we got our caliper on, then we want to slide everything forward a little bit and put our chain on. Once the chain's on, we can pull the wheel back, and we can line up all the holes so our axles slide through. And the reason we put a light coat of grease on that axle is so the axle slides in nice and easily, and next time I take it out, it's going to come out easily as well. Like I said, I just did this bike about a month ago to put the S22s on, so I pretty much know that everything's going to come apart as easy as it went together. I did notice he bought this bike used and it had been crashed. I did notice the last person before me, and I don't know why I didn't pay attention to it when I when I worked on the bike originally, but on the adjuster, that spacer that goes on the adjuster and adjusts the axle, I noticed that on the right side of the bike, the lines were facing inbound. So when I pulled the axle back out and flipped that spacer over on the axle, I noticed that the reason the original owner decided to hide the adjusting, there's a line on that spacer so you can adjust the axle with your swing arm, but I noticed it was all rashed up. So they must have put it into a rock or something on that side. I'm not sure how they corrected the swing arm. I'm thinking they replaced the swing arm on this bike when it was crashed, and they just forgot to do the spacer, forgot to order that spacer. But it's actually rashed up pretty bad, so I'm thinking this bike took a pretty hard spill. Be that as it may, when my friend Roland bought this bike, I did spend a few days with the bike. I did go through the bike. I replaced all the fluids, put new tires on it. We did put the braided brake lines on it, and he's been riding it. He's got, I would say he's close to about 2,000 miles on it since his ownership, and he absolutely loves the bike. So that's all that really matters, right? If you love the bike, and the bike rides right, and everything's set up properly, then it's a decent bike. So we're torquing it down. I don't give torque specs in my videos, but I did torque it down to the specs that are in the owner's manual. With those torque specs, my hole did not line up with the axle for my cotter key, so I'm gonna go ahead and just back it off just a little bit. It's better to back it off than go too tight. If you go too tight, sometimes you can shove the bearings too far in the wheel. There's a reason why the manufacturer gives you torque specs. You really should use them. If you're not sure about working on motorcycles, definitely use the torque specs. But this was our 2009 Kawasaki Versys. Thanks for watching.